National Electrical Code Article 422.31 addresses disconnecting means for appliances. The difference in requirements between 422.31 and 422.31b hinges primarily on the potential hazard associated with larger appliances versus smaller ones. For appliances rated not over 300 volt-amps or 1/8 horsepower, the branch circuit overcurrent device is permitted to serve as the disconnecting means. The code doesn't explicitly require this disconnecting means to be within sight of the appliance. This is because the risk associated with servicing or maintaining such a small appliance is considered relatively low. The potential for significant electrical hazards like arc flash or electrocution is minimized due to the low power consumption. In contrast, for appliances rated over 300 volt-amps or 1/8 horsepower, the disconnecting means, which can be a switch or circuit breaker, must be within sight from the appliance or capable of being locked in the open position. This requirement is in place to ensure the safety of personnel working on the appliance. The higher volt-ampere rating indicates a potentially more hazardous situation. Firstly, a higher power consumption means that a fault could result in a more significant arc flash hazard. An arc flash is an electrical explosion that can cause severe burns, blindness, and even death. Secondly, the larger appliance could potentially have more complex internal wiring and components, increasing the risk of accidental contact with energized parts. The within sight requirement means that the disconnecting means must be visible and within 50 feet from the appliance. This allows the person working on the appliance to verify that the power is indeed disconnected before beginning any work. In situations where the disconnecting means is not within sight, the code requires it to be capable of being locked in the open position. This lockout/tagout procedure provides a positive means of ensuring that the circuit remains de-energized while work is being performed. A lock is placed on the disconnecting means, preventing it from being accidentally or intentionally turned back on. The 2005 NEC introduced provisions for locking or adding a lock, further emphasizing the importance of this safety measure. This is particularly relevant for appliances like dishwashers that may not have an integral on/off switch. The primary difference between the two scenarios, therefore, is the level of potential hazard. Smaller appliances with low volt-ampere ratings are considered less risky. Consequently, the disconnecting means requirements are less stringent. Larger appliances with higher volt-ampere ratings pose a greater risk, resulting in more stringent disconnecting means requirements to protect personnel from electrical hazards. Both scenarios involve appliances operating at the same voltage, such as 120 volts, but the critical factor is the amount of current the appliance draws, as indicated by the volt-ampere rating. To elaborate further on the practical implications, consider the following examples. Firstly, a small table lamp with a 60-watt bulb operating at 120 volts would draw approximately 0.5 amps. Its volt-ampere rating would be 60 volt-amps, well below the 300 volt-amp threshold. In this case, the branch circuit overcurrent device protecting the circuit supplying the lamp could serve as the disconnecting means, and it wouldn't need to be within sight of the lamp. Secondly, a larger appliance like a window air conditioner rated at 120 volts and drawing 8 amps would have a volt-ampere rating of 960 volt-amps. This is significantly above the 300 volt-amp threshold. Therefore, the disconnecting means for this air conditioner would need to be either within sight of the appliance or capable of being locked in the open position. In addition to the volt-ampere and horsepower ratings, other factors can influence the specific disconnecting means requirements. For example, if the appliance is cord and plug connected, the plug itself can serve as the disconnecting means if it's readily accessible to the user. However, if the appliance is hardwired, a separate disconnecting means is always required. It's also important to note that local codes and regulations may have additional requirements beyond those specified in the NEC. It's always best to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the disconnecting means for any appliance meets all applicable codes and standards. To summarize the key points, firstly, NEC Article 422.31 outlines the requirements for disconnecting means for appliances. Secondly, the requirements differ based on the volt-ampere or horsepower rating of the appliance. Thirdly, appliance is rated not over 300 volt-amps or 1/8 horsepower can use the branch circuit overcurrent device as a disconnecting means without being within sight. Fourthly, appliances rated over 300 volt-amps or 1/8 horsepower must have a disconnecting means within sight or capable of being locked in the open position. Fifthly, the main difference is the level of potential hazard associated with the appliance, with larger appliances requiring more stringent safety measures. In addition to these general rules, there are some exceptions and special considerations. For example, for certain types of appliances, such as electric ranges and clothes dryers, the branch circuit switch or circuit breaker may be accessible but not necessarily within sight of the appliance, as long as it is readily accessible. In these cases, the code recognizes that the appliance is typically located in a specific area of the building, and the disconnecting means is likely to be nearby and easily accessible. Furthermore, it's important to understand the definition of readily accessible as it applies to disconnecting means. According to the NEC, readily accessible means capable of being reached quickly for operation, renewal, or inspection without requiring those to whom ready access is requisite to climb over or remove obstacles or to resort to portable ladders, and so forth. This means that the disconnecting means must be easily reached without any special tools or equipment. Moreover, the disconnecting means must be clearly labeled to identify the appliance it serves. This helps to ensure that the correct circuit is de-energized when work is being performed on the appliance. The labeling should be durable and legible, and it should be placed in a conspicuous location near the disconnecting means. In conclusion, understanding the requirements for appliance disconnecting means is crucial for ensuring electrical safety. By following the guidelines in NEC Article 422.31 and consulting with a qualified electrician, you can help to prevent electrical hazards and protect yourself and others from potential injuries. The NEC, or National Electrical Code, serves as the benchmark for safe electrical design, installation, and inspection to protect people and property from electrical hazards. It is developed by the National Fire Protection Association (NFPA). Regular updates, approximately every 3 years, ensure it incorporates the latest safety standards and technological advancements. The code is not federal law, but is widely adopted by states and municipalities, becoming legally binding. Article 422 specifically addresses appliances, covering a broad spectrum from small household devices to large industrial equipment. It outlines requirements for wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and, as we've discussed, disconnecting means. Adhering to Article 422 ensures appliances are safely installed and operated, minimizing the risk of electrical fires and shocks. Proper selection and installation of disconnecting means are critical for safety during maintenance and repair. It allows workers to de-energize the appliance, preventing accidental electrocution. The code mandates specific types of disconnects based on appliance size and location. For small appliances, a circuit breaker might suffice, while larger ones may require a dedicated switch within sight. Lockout/tagout procedures are essential when the disconnect is not within sight, ensuring the circuit remains de-energized during work. Regular inspections of appliance wiring and disconnecting means are crucial for identifying potential hazards. Damaged cords, loose connections, and malfunctioning disconnects can all pose safety risks. Prompt repairs and replacements are necessary to maintain electrical safety. Consulting with a qualified electrician is recommended for any electrical work, especially when dealing with appliances. Electricians have the knowledge and experience to ensure installations comply with the NEC and local codes. They can also identify potential hazards and recommend appropriate safety measures. Ignoring electrical codes and safety practices can have severe consequences. Electrical fires can cause significant property damage and injuries. Electrical shocks can be fatal. Proper installation and maintenance are essential for preventing these hazards. Further diving into the NEC requirements for appliance disconnects, it's important to understand the concept of ampacity. Ampacity refers to the current carrying capacity of a conductor. The NEC specifies minimum ampacity requirements for branch circuits supplying appliances, based on the appliance's volt-ampere rating. The conductor must be sized large enough to safely carry the current drawn by the appliance without overheating. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses, are designed to protect the conductors from overloads and short circuits. These devices must be sized appropriately for the ampacity of the conductors and the volt-ampere rating of the appliance. If the overcurrent protection device is too small, it will trip frequently, interrupting the power supply to the appliance. If it's too large, it may not provide adequate protection against overloads and short circuits, potentially leading to a fire. Grounding is another crucial aspect of appliance safety. The NEC requires appliances to be grounded to provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the overcurrent protection device and de-energizing the circuit. Grounding helps to prevent electrical shocks by ensuring that the metal parts of the appliance are at the same potential as the earth. There are several different methods of grounding appliances, including grounding through the power core, grounding through a separate grounding conductor, and grounding through the metal conduit. The specific grounding method required depends on the type of appliance and the wiring method used. In addition to grounding, ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, provide an additional layer of protection against electrical shocks. GFCIs are designed to detect even small amounts of current leakage to ground and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing a potentially fatal shock. The NEC requires GFCIs to be installed in certain locations where there is a high risk of electric shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. When selecting a disconnecting means for an appliance, it's important to consider the type of appliance and its location. For example, for a permanently connected appliance, such as a water heater, a switch or circuit breaker is typically used as the disconnecting means. The disconnecting means should be readily accessible and clearly labeled to identify the appliance it serves. For a cord and plug connected appliance, the plug itself can serve as the disconnecting means, provided that it is readily accessible. However, if the plug is not readily accessible, a separate disconnecting means is required. It's also important to consider the environment in which the appliance is located. For example, if the appliance is located in a damp or wet location, the disconnecting means must be suitable for wet locations and protected from moisture. In addition to the NEC requirements, there may be other applicable codes and standards, such as those related to energy efficiency or accessibility. It's important to be aware of all applicable requirements and to ensure that the disconnecting means for the appliance complies with all of them. In conclusion, the requirements for appliance disconnecting means are complex and multifaceted. By understanding the NEC requirements, as well as other applicable codes and standards, you can ensure that appliances are safely installed and maintained, protecting yourself and others from electrical hazards. And always remember to consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work.